Originally released for Xbox One and PC back in October of 2018, Forza Horizon 4 was met with critical acclaim. Over the past 2.5 years, it has seen an incredibly successful release on Steam and a mostly positive update for the Xbox Series consoles. Just what is it that has made this game so loved by racing and casual fans alike? And how has it grown since its release? Let's find out. Back on the E3 stage in 2018, Forza Horizon 4 was given the tagline, "Seasons change everything." It was a brand new concept for the game, in that every few weeks, the game shifts between the 4 major seasons of winter, spring, summer, and fall. Taking place in Great Britain, the landscape will change from a snowbound half-tundra with frozen over lakes to a wet and colorful countryside with flowers starting to bloom. As a live service game, this was a brilliant idea, so that things constantly felt different if you came back from a short or long break. The game allows you to change the season depending on your choice when offline, but runs on a schedule when you're connected to the network. The map is full of your fellow racers who you can see but thankfully not touch while driving one of the vast number of cars available. Those cars both look beautiful and handle fantastically, as the Forza Tech engine is the best it has ever been here. On the base Xbox One consoles, the game runs at 30 frames per second, but on the One X and Series consoles, it can run up to 60 frames per second and is stunning. Optimization on PC has been smoothed out greatly since launch, and even a moderately powerful machine can run the game well at high settings. And this is a game about the joy of racing, both off-road and on, with a bevy of perhaps too many events to run and a wide variety of things to tackle on the far too busy map. I really can't rave enough about the driving though. Earlier this year, I reviewed a game called Wreckfest, which remains one of my favorite racing games of all time, due largely to its excellent handling and damage systems. The only game that has better handling is Forza Horizon 4. And though it lacks the serious and excellent cosmetic damage, when you crank up the difficulty modifiers, the effects that damage does have on your car can feel similar in many ways. For most though, since this game, like all other first-party titles of recent years, is available on Game Pass for both console and PC, you will start things easy and let the game suggest when it is time to bump up the overall difficulty. Returning from past entries is the Drivatar system, and it works well once again. Thankfully, they're not as aggressive and don't slam into you as much as I remember in past games from the series, and I never felt cheated when I lost a race. This is due in large part to just how good the handling feels. As you get used to the game, mastering when to brake, when to e-brake, and when to say screw it and use your opponents to help you turn is a very rewarding experience. The Y button is once again available to you as a rewind for when things go a bit too wrong. That is up until the end of a race, at which point you lose that ability for the final few turns. Turning up the difficulty can remove features such as brake assists and reward you with percentage modifiers to your end of race earnings as you make things tougher. This all feeds into a large, perhaps overly dense, and ultimately satisfying progression system. One of the only issues I have with this game stems in part from the fact that I've played so much of the previous games. There is a lot to do here, and as you level up each individual activity, you then unlock more of those activities. This ends up causing your map to be full of what feels like hundreds of icons in the main landmass of Great Britain. The signature over-the-top races, like one where you drive a warthog from Halo, as Cortana and other voice actors never stop talking, are back, along with full-on story mode campaigns. There is a tremendous variety that was only added to in post-release updates that were both free and paid. There were 2 expansion DLCs released, and they are both excellent. The first expansion is Fortune Island, and it takes you to a place of both great beauty and terrifying weather. You end up hunting around the map looking for treasure chests that give you millions of credits, which are the in-game currency you earn to buy cars, fast travel, and other various things. The second DLC is LEGO Racing Championship, which is based on the real-world car sets. There aren't a ton of cars available in it, but the graphics are fantastic looking, greatly reminding me of the LEGO movie itself, and even featuring the Everything is Awesome song on the in-game radio. You'll spend your time finding blocks and building the map up here, and both expansions are fantastic. And it is safe to say that Forza Horizon 4 is one of the best looking games of the past generation. The way it pushed the Xbox One and One X hardware at the time of launch was astounding. The Series X and S versions are beautiful, but they did have some pretty major issues at launch, as they were based on the One S version of the game instead of the One X. Things have been touched up since then, and outside an overly aggressive LOD or level of detail, it is fantastic looking. The car sounds are as good as ever, with all the whines and bass you'd expect from the various types of cars present, and the in-game radio stations have a solid mix from various genres. Sadly, the Groove music support for custom soundtracks was removed when the service was shuttered, but there are a bevy of apps available on the Xbox that will allow you to play whatever you want in the background, so it's not all bad there. Getting back to it though, it can be hard to overstate just how much there ends up being on the in-game map. If you've played the heck out of the first 3 games of the series, you might find yourself a bit fatigued by the number of races this game has you do for progression's sake. Add on to this the number of wheel spins the game has you make, and those are the main way you unlock cosmetics for your driver, car horns, and other various things, including cars themselves or huge piles of credits. I would guesstimate that I've done roughly 600 wheel spins in my time playing the game, and even that number feels conservative. Mix in audio sections that you can't skip, and there ends up being a fairly decent amount of time spent not driving, whether you want to or not. The progression system for your cars is a bit bland as well, as you'll unlock point modifiers and extra experience gains for each car by driving well or aggressive or like a maniac, though you lose your combos if you crash before the timer is up. I truly do love this combo system, but I wish it fed into a more satisfying car progression system. As there are hundreds and hundreds of cars, it isn't always fun to have to level up each one independently, and something more driver-based would have been an improvement to me personally. One other area that has been a bit weak are some of the free updates. There was one called the Super 7, which looked like a great track creator, but ended up being a bit less than what people were hoping. Instead, it feels more like a testbed for track creators in future entries of the series. A Battle Royale mode known as the Eliminator was added in during the big BR craze, and it can be quite fun, though after my first few times I did find myself growing quickly tired of it. It is definitely more fleshed out and enjoyable than the Super 7 though. In conclusion, even with those issues, this really is one of the best racing games of all time. Both offline solo play and online co-op and competitive are at the top of the genre. As it has been out for a few years now and is on Game Pass, it routinely goes on sale, including the large amount of DLC that the game has to offer. There are few games I have found myself coming back to more often than this one, and you would be doing yourself a major disservice if you didn't at least give it a try. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please tick that little bell so you know whenever we post something. And we will see you here next time on XboxEra.